And I want to talk today about renting forever because it's kind of normal in our market today anyway. And it's kind of hard to climb the property ladder if you're never ever going to own anything to start with. But it's like increasingly more and more rare to find somebody that owns a home.
Look, I get it. The Toronto real estate market is confusing. Whether you're a new or experienced investor or just looking for a home to raise your family in, join us at Broadview Table Talks as we sit around the table with my friends to talk about the real estate and the ever-changing market in Toronto.
All right, we're back. I'm so sorry. I've been on a hiatus for a little while. It's just been really crazy in our office and I haven't had time to actually sit down and record anything. So here we are today. And I want to talk today about renting forever because it's kind of normal in our market today anyway. It's definitely normal in New York and Paris and Hong Kong, London, all the major cities around the world, Europe even. Like it's really common to rent forever. And with all the new housing supply and the new policies coming out that are just encouraging rental supply, not ownership supply, basically condos. Like no one's buying new construction condos and no one's building new construction houses anymore. And it's kind of hard to get into that. And it's kind of hard to climb the property ladder if you're never ever going to own anything to start with, right? You got to start at the bottom rung, which is probably owning a small little condo and moving up and trading up to a townhouse or semi-detached. And you go into the freehold, the detached after that. But it's like increasingly more and more rare to find somebody that owns a home. And like I said, in those major cities, it's kind of normal to see your friends all rent with roommates. And even less rare, though, it's pretty impressive when somebody rents on their own because rents are so expensive there even. But here, rents are kind of lower, so it's not a bad thing. Now, what I would say is if you're a renter planning to rent forever, just do me a favor and save the difference that you would have saved if you were to buy something. Because let's face it, like buying a home is way more expensive than renting a home. I'll give you a perfect example. We have a listing here in North York, $550,000 for a 668 square foot corner unit, one bedroom, which is pretty rare. It's nice to have a corner unit because you get a lot more light. But yeah, it's listed for $550,000. At 20% down, you'll need $110,000 for a down payment. You have to save that, right? And if you're already renting right now, saving that money is going to be really hard. But let's just say you got it gifted, or maybe you were diligent and you saved that money. At a 20% down, 3.99% rate for a 30-year amortization, you're looking at a mortgage payment of $2,100 a month, just a little bit over $2,100. So if you throw in the property taxes at $2,200 a year, it works out to $184 per month, plus maintenance fees of $557 for $2,860. You can actually rent that same unit. Instead of paying over $2,800 a month to buy that unit, you can rent it for $2,300. It just so happened that they're the exact same layout. It's a little bit lower floor, but for that same layout, you can rent it for $2,300. And you're thinking, okay, so I'm going to pay $560 more on average. Why, right? Like, why? So I get if you truly want to rent, the difference is around $6,700 a month, a year for the difference. But if you compounded that money, you saved it, and every month you socked away, in addition to paying your rent, you put away $560, and you compounded it for 30 years at 8% a year. It's a pretty reasonable return to get. I mean, it's pretty high, but it's possible. You'd be left with $834,000 at the end of 30 years if you just sock that away. You might be thinking, yes, your rent goes up, and it's not a perfect example of rent versus buy, but like that's pretty good. So if you're renting, all I gotta say is just sock away extra money, continue to save. The difference of if you were to buy something. The reason why I say that is because a lot of people get all upset, and there's a lot of tenant rules, rent controls, and my landlord wants to kick me out or raise the rent by this much. Like I just had a listing appointment the other day with a seller. Their current tenant is paying $1,100 a month. They've been there for 15 years. That they don't want to go. They're just putting up so much of a stink because they have nowhere to go for $1,100. Like, what are you gonna find? You gotta move out of the country, or maybe not out of the country, but out of the province for sure, into a smaller town to get to $1,100, or you have to find a roommate. And can you imagine if you stayed there for another 10 years? Like, what are you going to do? I don't know. If you're renting, just make sure you save money, let the power of compounding do its work, and you'll be okay. You can withstand if you ever were to get kicked out. There's your down payment right there for another place to purchase, or if you can buy something outright anyway for $834,000. But of course, if you buy something, it's way better. I mean, depends on your horizon, depends on what you need it for. The same math for 30-year amortization. If you held it for 30 years, buy it for $550,000, and let's just say that the real estate appreciates at 4%. Now remember, that real estate appreciating at 4% is not only on your down payment of $110,000, it's of the $550,000 purchase price. So if you go back 4% a year, I know there's up and downs. It's never perfect for 30 straight years, but like all I know is that the money and the currency in the Canadian population does dilute by 2% a year, at least 2%, like a target of 2 to 3% because of inflation, because we're spending more than we actually make as a government. It's going to dilute your currency. And that being said, at $549,000 compounded at 4% a year for 30 years works out to $1.78 million. So close to $1.8 million versus if you were to compound that cash you would have saved, the difference, and constantly contribute to it, you're looking at $834,000 difference. Yes, it makes way more sense to buy something than to rent something. That being said, like, you're not going to stay in a one bedroom. Well, maybe some people do, but most people don't want to stay in a one bedroom condo forever. So you got to keep in mind, if you're going to buy something, you got to stay there for, I would say, probably more than 5 years. It kind of starts making sense around there. If you're less than 5 years and you know you're going to rent short term, just rent, but constantly sock away money just to save it, even if you decide to buy after 5 years of renting, or if you rent forever. At least you won't be left behind. A lot of good things about buying. There's tax savings, there's forced appreciation, there's the property value going up, the mortgage being paid off. Can you imagine having a paid off mortgage and not having to pay any kind of housing costs except for maybe taxes and maintenance? It's pretty awesome. So the lesson for today is ignore the headlines of where the real estate market's going. It's crashing. If you're renting something right now, make sure you're socking away money. Perhaps even consider that if it's a low market right now, more of a buyer's market, maybe it is time to buy something. Reach out to your mortgage professional if you need help. If you need somebody, we can refer you to one, or reach out to us. Like, we can help you as well too. Thanks for listening this week, and I promise I'll be back at this, making content more often.
Add it up.
Thanks for sticking out to the very end. I hope you got some value out of this. Do me a favor, please press like and subscribe, but more than anything, leave me some feedback so we know what to produce for you going forward. Thanks again.